You want to know the most dangerous man in the room? It's not the loud one, not the one screaming for attention or waving his arms like a clown on fire. No, no. The most dangerous one is the one who's gone quiet. The one who used to speak, used to explain, used to care. Until one day, he didn't. That's the one you watch out for. That's the one who's had enough of explaining himself to a world full of noise. You see, when a man chooses silence, he's not retreating. He's not weak. He's not folding under the weight of it all. No, he's calculating, he's watching, he's collecting every disrespectful glance, every betrayal disguised in a fake smile, every word you mumbled behind his back. Silence is his new language. And trust me, it's louder than any scream you've ever heard. You've been too kind. That's the disease, you know. You're out here trying to save people who wouldn't piss on you if you were on fire. You're giving love like it's water, thinking they'll give it back the same way. But they won't. They never do. And when you finally start to shut your mouth, when the messages go unanswered, when your energy vanishes from their life, then they panic. Oh, they crumble. They start to squirm like rats in a drowning ship. What happened? They'll ask. Why'd he change? But they know. Deep down, they know they fed you lies and called them promises. They drained your light bit by bit, then complained you didn't shine like you used to. And the moment you start watching instead of talking, they feel that shift. It eats at them. You're not available anymore. And that's when they start to suffocate. You were their punching bag, emotional sponge, the easy one, always ready to understand, always ready to forgive. That's why they used you, because they thought you'd never leave. But the thing is, silence. It isn't just a weapon, it's a burial. You stop feeding the beast, and it starves. You stop watering the dead plant, and it dies. Simple, right? But for some reason, people think love means never stopping, never walking away, never going ghost. That's a lie. Love, real love, respects itself first. And your silence is the proof that you finally started respecting yourself. You ain't angry anymore. You're done. That's why it's scary. Because silence doesn't seek revenge. It just walks away and watches. See, when you used to talk, they ignored you. When you cried, they rolled their eyes. When you gave your last bit of hope, they called it weakness. But now they sit in rooms filled with noise, and somehow your silence still drowns everything out. They check their phones. They scroll through memories. They replay your words, wondering where it all went wrong. But here's the twist. It didn't go wrong. It went exactly how it needed to. People don't hear the warning shots anymore. You scream, you beg, you bleed, and they don't blink. But you go quiet. Suddenly the world's ending. Suddenly they remember everything you ever said. Funny, right? They thought they had forever. They thought you'd always be there. They mistook your loyalty for stupidity, your softness for weakness. So now, Let them sit in the echo of what used to be your presence. Let them feel that silence clawing at their guilt. No more explanations. No more justifying your worth. You've said enough, done enough, loved enough. The rest, it's theirs to face alone. That silence, it's the funeral song to every lie they ever told, every chance they ever wasted. Let it play. Let it sting. Let it haunt. And you? Don't look back. Don't break that silence for the comfort of chaos. Don't reopen wounds to soothe people who never stopped cutting. Your silence is your power. It's your peace. It's the only thing they can't twist. You see, when you go silent, you force them to sit with their own noise. And that, my friend, is what drives them mad. Because in their noise, they hear the truth you used to scream, the truth they ignored. And now, it whispers back to them in every room they enter, every mirror they face. You're not the villain. You're just the man who finally stopped trying to save people who were killing him. And now, they get to watch themselves fall apart, quietly. You ever notice how loud the world gets when you're finally at peace? How people suddenly start crawling back into your life, not because they miss you, but because they miss what you gave them. See, people don't come back because they love you. They come back because your silence exposed the hole they never knew they had. You were the one filling that void. Your energy, your time, your patience. And when you went quiet, they didn't miss you. They missed how you made them feel. That comfort, that safety, that presence. And it burns them alive knowing they'll never get it again. You didn't disappear. You evolved. And evolution doesn't ask for permission, it just happens. Silent, unapologetic, final. You don't owe them a warning. You don't owe them closure. You don't owe them a single word. Because where were they when you were breaking in silence? Where were they when you were screaming inside your head, hiding pain behind smiles just to make them comfortable? They didn't hear it then. So why should they hear you now? No. Let them sit with their confusion. Let them replay the last conversation over and over. Let them wonder what they did. That wondering, that's the punishment. That's the justice. You don't have to lift a finger. Your silence is the sentence, and it's a life won. They laughed when you gave too much, said you were too emotional, too sensitive, too available. They called your loyalty desperate, your honesty weakness. But the moment you went ghost, oh, now he switched up. Nah, you didn't switch up. You woke up. You got tired of showing up for people who never showed up for you. And instead of throwing a tantrum, you just vanished. You disappeared without a bang, and that's what scares them most. You walked away without drama. And that's why they're still talking about you, still thinking about you, still checking up on you, but never admitting it. Because silence, it forces them to see the role they played in your exit. And people hate accountability more than they hate pain. You gave them peace. They gave you pieces, little ones, pieces of time, attention, affection. Never the whole thing. You were out here bleeding love while they were handing out breadcrumbs. And still you stayed until the day you realized you deserved more. And instead of making a scene, you became the scene. You walked out of the story like a ghost, and now they sit with the weight of what they lost. They tell their friends, I don't know what happened. But deep down, they do. They just never thought you'd be the one to leave because they thought your silence meant defeat. But it wasn't. It was rebirth. Listen to me. When you go silent, it ain't because you lost. It's because you're done playing a game that was always rigged against you. You finally took your soul off the market. You stopped auctioning your heart to people who paid in excuses, and now they feel the void. That silence, it's heavy. It's haunting. It follows them into conversations, dreams, even other relationships. They'll find someone else, sure, but they'll compare. And every time that new person doesn't care the way you did, doesn't stay the way you stayed, doesn't love the way you loved, they'll think of you, and it'll crush them. Not because they want you back, but because they know they can't have you back. That version of you? Dead. Buried. Unreachable. You didn't change. You evolved. You outgrew your own tolerance. And when silence became your response, it was the loudest fuck you ever gave. Not out of hate, but out of self-respect. And that's the kind of silence they never recover from. Because it's not a reaction, it's a decision. And once you decide to be silent, they have no weapon left to use against you. No words to twist, no emotions to manipulate, no guilt to throw at you. You become untouchable, not because you stopped caring, but because you finally cared about yourself more. So don't break it, don't answer, don't explain. Let the silence speak. Let it echo in the cracks of their conscience. Let it remind them that not everyone stays forever, especially the ones they take for granted. Let it be the mirror that shows them who they really are when you're no longer there to reflect back the good. Your silence is not absence. It's presence in its purest, deadliest form. You didn't disappear. You just stopped dancing for people who never even played your song. You ever watch someone realize they lost something real? It's not loud. It's not dramatic. It creeps in slowly, like poison. Starts with silence in a conversation. Then it's an empty notification bar. Then it's nights that feel too quiet, rooms that feel too big, laughter that doesn't hit the same. That's when they realize you're gone. Not just physically, not just from their messages, but gone in spirit, gone from their future. And they start to crack because your silence, it's not just about absence, it's a reminder that there was once someone who showed up for them, fully, completely, selflessly, and they let that go like it meant nothing. That realization, it breaks people in places they didn't know they could hurt. They thought you'd always come back. You see, people treat you based on how much they think they can get away with. And you forgave too quickly. You explained too often. You gave them unlimited chances, like you were some emotional charity. They thought they could keep spitting on your worth and you'd still stay. And for a while, you did, until you didn't, until you went quiet. And silence. It's not just a lack of words. It's a shift in power. A silent man is a dangerous man. He's seen enough, felt enough, bled enough, and now he doesn't need to prove anything to anyone. He lets people destroy themselves with their own echo. Let me make something clear. Your silence doesn't mean you're okay. It means you've accepted what they are. And when you accept who someone truly is, you stop arguing. You stop pleading. You stop expecting. You realize that loyalty is wasted on the ungrateful. That love, when given to the wrong person, becomes a cage. So you chose freedom. And it looked like distance. It looked like not replying, not explaining, not fighting to stay in places that were killing your soul. That kind of silence, it doesn't scream. It just ends everything, quietly, permanently, with no room for closure. They used to know every version of you, your kindness, your laughter, your vulnerability. But this version, the quiet one, the one who stopped explaining his pain, it scares them. Because this version isn't emotional. It's cold. And cold people don't beg. They don't chase. They don't warn. They walk. And walking away in silence is a kind of strength most people don't understand. They call it heartless. But it's not. It's heartbroken. Healed. That's what they fear. They fear the healed version of you. The one who doesn't need them anymore. The one who doesn't flinch when their name comes up. The one who found peace without their chaos. You see, they thought your love was weakness. They thought your presence was a privilege they didn't have to earn. So now they sit in the aftermath. In the crater, your silence, left behind. And let me tell you something, they can post all the happy pictures they want. They can pretend they're unfazed. But deep down, there's a part of them that knows they had something rare and ruined it. That knows they'll never find someone who saw them the way you did. And that knowledge, that's the real punishment. It's not rage, it's regret. And don't let them back in. I know the silence gets heavy. I know you start to miss the comfort, even if it was toxic. But you left for a reason. Don't go back to places that made you question your worth. Don't let the loneliness fool you into believing you were wrong to walk away. Silence is hard. Healing is harder. But going back, that's self-betrayal. You didn't survive hell just to sit back down at the table that served you poison with a smile. Keep your silence. Let it protect you. Let it be your sword and your shield. Because when people realize you're no longer reachable, they panic. Not because they love you, but because they lost control. Your silence strips them of that power. They can't manipulate silence. They can't gaslight silence. They can't play the victim to silence. It exposes everything. Their patterns, their lies, their weakness. That's why it's powerful. That's why it works. You've become untouchable, not because you're better than them, but because you finally saw them for what they were and chose yourself. You know what really messes with them? It's not just the silence, it's what comes after. The glow up, the comeback, the version of you that rises from the ashes they left you in. They expected you to fold, to break, to chase. They thought you'd be there, on your knees, begging for answers, seeking closure, praying for their attention. But instead, you disappeared. And when they looked around, you were nowhere. No drama, no goodbyes, just a void. And in that silence, you rebuilt yourself. Stronger, colder, smarter. And now, every breath you take without them is a slap to their ego. Every smile you wear is a reminder that they were never the sun. You were just too blind to see your own light. You didn't go silent because you were afraid. You went silent because you were done. You stopped arguing with fools. You stopped bleeding for people who called your wounds drama. You stopped proving yourself to crowds that would never clap for you anyway. And when you stopped explaining yourself, something shifted. You became dangerous. Not because you're out for revenge, but because you've got nothing left to prove. You've tasted disappointment enough times to know how it's cooked. So now you stay quiet and let them serve themselves the chaos they created. They don't even realize it. But your silence forces them to confront the very things they used to run from. Guilt, shame, loss, regret. Things they buried under ego and excuses. And trust me, they talk. Oh, they talk. They'll say you changed. Say you're heartless now. Say you're acting brand new. But the truth is, you just stopped being available for their nonsense. You outgrew the version of yourself that tolerated emotional starvation. You no longer play therapist to broken people who don't want to be fixed. You no longer carry dead weight in the name of loyalty. That's not heartless. That's healing. And they hate it, because it means you're no longer controllable. You're no longer accessible. You're no longer that open door they used to walk through whenever it suited them. You boarded it shut. You burned the key. And now, they're stuck outside, wondering how they ever thought you were disposable. You were never too much. You were just too real, too loyal, too present. And that scared people who were never ready to be seen fully. You gave them honesty and effort, and they gave you games and gray areas. You showed up. They showed off. And when the illusion faded, when the mask cracked, when you saw them for who they really were, you didn't scream. You didn't throw a fit. You just went quiet. And that quiet, it became the loudest goodbye they'll ever receive. Because silence doesn't need validation. It doesn't need applause. It just is. It speaks in echoes that bounce off every wall of their fake peace. They might not say it out loud, but they feel it every day, in every relationship that feels a little more hollow than what they had with you, in every moment of silence that reminds them of how full your presence used to feel. They'll smile in public, but your memory will tap on their shoulder when they least expect it. In songs, in smells, in places, in faces. Regret is a ghost that never leaves. And your silence? It's what invited it in. Don't underestimate what you're doing. Don't question your silence. It's not cowardice. It's the purest form of strength. You're not running. You're not hiding. You're protecting your peace like it's sacred. Because it is. You've been through the storm. You've been burned by hands you trusted. And instead of becoming bitter, you chose to become better. Quietly. Privately. That's real power. Because healing isn't loud. Growth isn't always pretty. Sometimes it looks like distance. Sometimes it feels like loneliness. But always, it leads to clarity. And clarity? That's the final nail in the coffin for anyone who thought you were weak. So stay silent. Let them wonder. Let them spin their stories. Let them choke on the version of you they created in their own minds. You owe them nothing. Not a text, not a word, not a glance. Let them live with what they did. Let them sit in the silence they laughed at. You're not angry anymore. You're just not available. And that is what'll haunt them forever. There's something poetic about the way silence breaks people. Slowly, intimately, like a mirror cracking from the inside. And they won't show it, not openly. They'll post like everything's fine, smile wide in pictures, laugh a little louder at parties, wear masks so convincing even their own reflection believes it, but deep down, they hear you. Not your voice, no. That's gone. What they hear now is the absence of it. And that silence, it follows them. In the gaps between conversations, in the late night scrolls, through photos they swore they deleted. In the split seconds before they fall asleep, when their mind stops running and your memory slips in uninvited, like a ghost. That's when they crack. That's when the weight of what they lost hits like a brick wall. They thought silence was surrender, that you going quiet meant they won. But this wasn't a game. You weren't trying to win. You were trying to survive. And silence, that was survival. You couldn't keep bleeding. For people who saw your open heart as a target, you couldn't keep pouring into hands that never intended to hold you. So you stopped. No explanations. No final words. You just stepped back, and that silence screamed louder. than any goodbye ever could. Because when you go silent, they're left to talk to their guilt. And guilt doesn't lie. Guilt doesn't sugarcoat. Guilt tells the truth, raw and unfiltered. And it doesn't go away just because they pretend you didn't matter. And now they see you thriving. Or even if you're still hurting, they think you're thriving. And that's enough to destroy them, because they expected your world to collapse without them. They expected to see you broken, begging, desperate. But you gave them nothing. No tears they could feel proud of. No breakdowns they could use to feed their ego. Just silence. That's why they're spiraling. Because people like that. Manipulators. Users. The ones who thrive on being needed. They can't survive without your reaction. Your silence killed their performance. And now they've got no audience. Just their own conscience whispering things they've tried their whole life to ignore. You were a storm, but they only saw the rain. They never looked at the sky you carried, the thunder in your soul, the fire you kept burying under all that patience. And when they pushed you too far, they expected you to explode, to break things, to scream. But you didn't. You just vanished. That's what they'll never understand. That the most dangerous goodbye is the one that doesn't come with closure. The one where the door just stays closed, locked and silent. No slamming, no keys thrown back. Just stillness. Cold, brutal, beautiful stillness. And in that stillness, they finally saw the monster they created, not in you, but in them. And maybe, just maybe, they start trying to be better after you leave. They start posting quotes about growth, start apologizing to people, start treating the next person with a little more care. But don't be fooled. That's not love. That's guilt. That's damage control. You were the lesson. You were the storm that shook their foundation and forced them to see themselves in the wreckage. And whether they admit it or not, your silence taught them something. Their comfort zone never would have. You don't get to mistreat people forever and walk away clean. Let them feel it. Let them sit in the silence. Let them choke on the words you never said, because sometimes the loudest revenge isn't rage, it's absence. You disappeared, and the world didn't end. You stopped calling, and they didn't get closure. You stopped chasing, and they had to face their reflection. That's how you win, quietly, without making a scene, without lowering yourself to their level. You just walk, and you never look back. And if one day they do come back, whispering apologies, talking about growth and change, remember this: apologies don't heal wounds made by repeated choices. Growth that only happens after you're gone isn't growth. It's regret disguised as progress. Don't open that door again. Don't respond to that knock. Let your silence be permanent, because you didn't leave out of hate. You left out of love for yourself. And that is the kind of love that never needs to speak a single word to be understood. They always think silence is weakness until it becomes the only voice in the room, and then it screams, louder than any insult, any raised voice, any argument. Because silence doesn't argue, it doesn't explain, it doesn't plead. It just stares back with cold eyes and closed lips, letting the weight of everything unsaid crush the other person from the inside out. And that's what they feel now. The heaviness, the void, the ache in their chest when they remember how available you used to be, how quick you were to pick up, to care, to fight for them even when they were the ones doing the damage. And now, nothing. No replies, no energy, no access. You've become a locked vault, sealed, solid, and silent. And here's the part they never tell you. They miss you the most when they finally understand you. When the silence forces them to sit with the reality they kept dodging. When they replay every moment they took for granted. When they finally see all the chances you gave them and how recklessly they wasted everyone. That's when your silence turns from mystery to punishment. Because they start to realize you didn't disappear. You evolved. You upgraded from chaos to calm, from begging to boundaries, from noise to nothingness. And nothingness, oh, it's terrifying. Because there's nothing for them to argue with, nothing to manipulate, nothing to push against. You've become untouchable, not because you're above them, but because you're beyond them. They underestimated you. That was their first mistake. They thought your kindness was softness, thought your loyalty was desperation, thought your presence was guaranteed. They thought they could keep crossing lines, pushing buttons, testing limits, and you'd still be there, still answering, still caring, still hoping. But they didn't realize that even the most loyal soul has a breaking point, that even the kindest hearts get tired. And when someone like you gets tired, they don't lash out. They cut off. They don't explode. They expire. Quietly. Silently. And that's what wrecks them. Because people expect noise. They expect fire. What they're not ready for is frost. That cold, numb quiet where love used to be. That's what stays with them. That's what haunts. And don't let anyone guilt trip you out of your silence. Don't let the world tell you that walking away makes you the villain. Because what they never saw, what they chose not to see, was how many times you stayed when it was easier to leave. How many times you swallowed your own pain to protect their feelings. How often you bit your tongue just to keep the peace. But peace isn't peace when it costs you your sanity. Peace isn't love when it's one-sided. So you left. Or maybe you stayed in the same place physically, but mentally, emotionally, Spiritually, you walked. And that distance, that's what they feel now. They feel your absence, even if you're standing right next to them. Because silence is not just about sound, it's about presence. And yours is gone. You're not heartless. You're just done bleeding for people who never noticed your wounds. You're not bitter. You're just done giving to those who only knew how to take. And now, in your silence, they're learning the lesson life never taught them. That you don't get unlimited chances. That love has limits. That people who truly care can leave, especially when they've been pushed too far. You are their consequence. Your silence is their mirror. And every day they have to look into it and face who they were when they had access to your heart. Keep that silence. Nurture it. Protect it. Because it's not just a wall, it's a filter. It keeps the chaos out. It keeps the pain from circling back. And it gives you space to grow, to breathe, to remember who you were before they tried to break you. Let them miss you. Let them wonder. Let them create 1,000 stories in their head about why you stopped speaking. But never give them the satisfaction of knowing the truth. Because the truth? It's simple. You got tired of being everything for everyone. And now, you're finally being everything for yourself. And let me tell you something cruel, but true. They never saw your silence coming. That's why it cuts so deep. See, people get used to the sound of your love, the check-ins, the soft goodnights, the long messages, the "Are you okay?" The way you always came back, even after they pushed you away. You were predictable. And they liked that. It gave them power. It gave them control. But when you went silent, it was like a blackout. 1 minute, they're soaking in all that attention, all that warmth, and the next, gone. Darkness, cold, nothing to grab onto. That's when they panic. That's when they spiral. Because they finally realize they weren't entitled to your light. They were just lucky to be in its presence. And now it's gone. And their whole world feels dimmer. They told themselves you wouldn't change, that you needed them, that you'd always be the one to fix things. They built that lie brick by brick, using your consistency as cement. But silence is the wrecking ball. It tears through every illusion they had about who held the power in the relationship. Because when you don't react, when you don't engage, when you don't care anymore, you take away their script. They can't play the victim. They can't twist your words. They're left standing in front of the mess they made with no one left to blame but themselves. And that kind of accountability, it shatters people. And here's the twisted irony. They want your silence to break, not because they miss you, but because it comforts them to hear your voice again. Even your pain, even your anger, because any reaction means they still matter, that they still have influence, that they still live in your head. That's what they crave, not reconciliation, not peace, just relevance. But when you stay silent, you erase them, You starve them. You make them irrelevant. And nothing destroys a self-absorbed person more than being forgotten by the one they thought they owned. Don't mistake their stalking for love. Don't let those late-night texts, those "I was thinking about you" messages, those old photos they suddenly like, fool you. That's not affection. That's desperation. That's panic. That's someone realizing they can't reach you anymore and throwing pebbles at a wall hoping to hear a sound. But you've built too many walls. You've patched too many wounds. You've buried too many versions of yourself to let one knock shake your foundation. You're not that person anymore. And no matter how loud they knock, your silence says, "I'm not home. I've moved on." And maybe, in a moment of weakness, you think about answering, about giving them one last piece of your mind, one last truth, one final closure. Don't. That's what they want. Not for healing, but for control. They want to drag you back into the ring, make you dance with the same pain you fought so hard to escape. But silence? That's the real win. It says, you don't get to touch me anymore. Not with guilt, not with memories, not with apologies laced in manipulation. You get nothing. Just the void you created when you took me for granted. Your silence is sacred. It's the sound of boundaries, of wisdom, of pain matured into peace. It's not cold. It's clear. It says, I know what I'm worth now. And that message, it doesn't need punctuation. It doesn't need shouting. It just needs consistency. That's what breaks them. The fact that you never look back, that you never crack, that your silence isn't a phase, it's a lifestyle now. A quiet rebellion. A declaration that your peace is no longer up for negotiation. So when the silence stretches on, and you find yourself wondering if they're hurting too, remember this. If they truly valued you, they would have never put you in a position to go silent in the first place. Your silence was their final warning, and they didn't even hear it until it was too late.